Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Pronigo bringing you some very exciting news. Cosmonarchy has another competitive match. Oh yeah, it is Doglived, taking on Art of Turtle, fresh off his 3-0 showing against Smarty Cakes. Wants to continue his Terran versus Zerg dominance. I feel like AOT is more than a match for Doglived, or at the very least should be a match for Doglived, but we will find out. AOT had an impressive run of form leading into the tournament, granting him a higher seed than many other players, so it's cool to see him get active. I look forward to just seeing what's going on, and maybe we'll get some very exciting gameplay out of him. He's going to be going for a Larvosk. First down here is our green Zerg in the bottom left of Rage Slave, a port of Neo Rush Hour, commissioned by Hit 'em Up. And Doglived is in the mid right here. I actually don't know what color this is. I'm going to say Russian green, but it was Fern green. There you go, I forgot it. It's going to be a double stockade, so very likely that we end up seeing some interesting situations as far as the first military unit goes. The Mason going to the top left, so the Maverick will likely be headed towards AOT's base in the bottom left, which could be a problem as the pool is only just beginning. Oh, Maverick getting caught a little bit trying to attack that Droleth, but have no fear, Doglived will destroy it. While this Droleth is mercilessly executed, I will go ahead and tell you guys that Cosmonarchy is, of course, always looking for more gamers, and we are shaping up for a Biddy Birthday Bash on the 12th. If you want a for-fun event, you want to play some non-standard game modes, 2v2s, FFAs, all sorts of stuff like that, well, you can sign up by joining our Discord server and inquiring. If you're already there, check the tournaments channel. There's a thread where you can sign up for the bash. Not so many days left to do so. This video will be releasing on the 9th of December, and the Biddy Birthday Bash will be taking place on the 12th of December. All right, my plug is over. But the pickup partner plug is right here. Check that out. Moving somewhere in the Northeast. Check it out. Check it out. USA. All right, so AOT, speaking of USA, by the way, both these American players, in case anybody's trivia senses were tingling, Mason going to be pulling away as it arrives and sees that there are indeed a lot of Zeth Quas. It looks like to me Doglived might be setting up for his more like early mid-game sort of push where he tries to go for the one-base containment before the Zerg has a natural. And he can show up in such force that if the Zerg has a natural, they might just die. A lot of Mavericks being made. One thing that did get adjusted here with the Vestry coming up on pre-release, but not on this version of the game that they're playing, is the Stockade takes a little bit longer to build, and Cyprians are a little bit more expensive. And so I just think that's kind of an interesting thing to keep in mind as we watch these Terran versus Zerg matches. I thought about that a lot when I was watching Doglived play against... when I was watching Shambler play against Grass Eater, I thought about that a lot. That came into play a lot, so that would have definitely made a big difference. So a 6 Quas drop earmarked for the inside of Doglived's base. His Mavericks are pretty close by, so this shouldn't be too easy for massive damage to take place. But still, finding the scout that your opponent is still here with his whole army is going to be somewhat informative for AOT. And even though he's down by a couple of workers, he is going to be able to pick a few. Doglived could have been a bit more reactive there, a bit more reflexive. There's no way that the Ovolith is going to help these Quas get evacuated, so it feels like it was a little bit of a waste for him to do that. He might have instead just decided to sack onto the Masons, maybe pick 1 or 2 more Masons in the process, send the Ovolith away, maybe it escapes, you know, and if it doesn't escape, then your Quas kill more workers, so it's kind of a win-win. But it feels like instead the jig is up, and AOT just lost some of his combat units, his Ovolith. He no longer has an easy path to holding this push. So, it's going to come down to the wire, it would seem. Maverick, Hurakan, some Shaman still being produced. The Ovolith did get deep enough to scout that, so at the very least, this shouldn't be a surprise to AOT necessarily. 10 Quas. He's adding a lot of static defense, but they're all the way back here. I don't like that positioning. Just another thing that he could have maybe used the Ovolith for at one point is airlifting the K-Grim, but timing-wise, it wouldn't have worked out for what he was doing. Hydras are being made. I think Hydra at the ramp, it would be actually pretty good here, but he's not got them at the ramp yet. He's shuffling them forward now. The question is whether Doglived will even attempt to go up the ramp once this, fort gets established, so to speak. Oh, Hydra's trying to slip the net. Interesting. He surely saw the army off to the side there. He's really going to just be like, yeah, I have the Kagrins, it's fine. He's got Circuits, but I don't think that's nearly enough, man. Now, the Hydras, if they get on top of the production, they could shut down a lot of what Doglived has. But that's not what's happening. He's setting up for a double Hydra drop, and you can fit 3 in each Ovoleth. I understand that part of it. But there is no hope for holding this attack if the Hydras are not here. And even if they were here, the fact that the ramp is given up feels very dire indeed. The Circuits are definitely going to help out, but the Quads are just going to get shredded, and AOT doesn't have any combat units besides that, so he is going to get utterly eviscerated here. The last of the Circuits staying alive, only long enough to kill a single Hurakan, and AOT recognizes he has been bested. Doglived just steps on him. Zerg no longer here in game 1, and that will be a Doglived victory coming in as the lower seed. Happy to post up his first win. By the way, Rage Slave, of course, was the map pick of AOT. We can take a look at that video and tell you that Acid Test is coming up. So let's see what's behind door number 2. Here it is. It's open. Doglived. In the bottom right is Fern Green once again. And AOT in the top right is green once again. So this ZVT is going to stay a little green. It's funny because Doglived isn't exactly green in the sense of being new to Terran. But AOT has been having a mare of a time in this particular matchup. He figured out his ZVP pretty nicely. He showed that in the last Acropolis when he bested Doglived 3-0 in the qualification stage. And after that, managed to go all the way. This is back when Doglived was playing Protoss, of course. Defeated Arbuz Budesh in a 3-game set in their Battlements group. So that was pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty neat. I thought that was pretty impressive from Sir AOT. He's going to be going for a Hydrith first now. Certainly fearing the stockade-based play of Doglived, who is adding these stockades as we speak. And that, to me, sounds like... I mean, this is a map that, if we remember correctly, this is not the map that was, had the containment spot done to it. Doglived did that to Smarty on Paradise. And just a quick cursory glance tells us that map will not be making an appearance here. Instead, map 3 will be Battle Spectre, and then there's Frosted Forest as map 4, Crisis Vector as our decider. Of course, AOT always bans Mass Destruction because the mini-map color hurts his eyes, or the tile set color in general hurts his eyes. I think that's what he has said in the past, so... we actually have somebody working on something related to the mini-map part of it, so that might improve desert tile set maps for AOT, but maybe then he can appreciate how amazing Mass Destruction truly is. Now, of course, the Maverick is going to run that Droleth down. It's just free, economic damage. And AOT not really getting too much of a scout off in terms of value. He was going the scout. I think it makes sense to go the scout on maps with more than one spawn, like Rage Slave, no matter what your opener is. But it only really makes sense to me to Droll Scout when you have a Hydrith opener here as Zerg, because you don't want to wait until your Hydra is out and then send it across the map to scout out what's happening. It's just a little bit too slow compared to like making a bunch of Zeths or whatever. So even then, I have seen some Zergs decide to go no Droll Scout, get their pull down, and send Zeths out. Sometimes that can delay their Larvosk or second Larvosk, but either way, we're going to see that Vestry build come for Doglived. He is ready to throw down with Shamans. Second Larvosk looks likely here for AOT. Almost banked up enough Vespene, but then he queues up some more Zerg units on Ovoleth in particular. This will be a little bit out of sync. He would have actually had the gas now otherwise. There it goes. Yeah. So with the Ovoleth, I think he's thinking about dropping again. He has a lot of Hydras out early. Hydras can kind of brawl with Mavericks, but I mean, you do want some sort of front line to absorb a lot of the pressure. I think by themselves, this is not going to be too threatening. One thing he can do is kind of hold out over here or over here and just kind of elevate her into the blind spots over in these locations. I don't think Doglived is going to be doing that, but is going to be subject to that here. But I could be wrong. I mean, the Ovoleth was made. AOT going for double Ovoleth to double drop Hydras was certainly a choice. He didn't know he could have just walked across. Bit of a calculated risk, one could say, one could claim, as Doglived did have the army across the map, but AOT had no knowledge of that. I kind of like dropping it over here and having the run-in elsewhere, but instead it looks like Doglived will be treated to an option to respond to it. Has he seen it? Has he noticed? he surely will hear the sounds and grab his Mavericks and send it over here. It does feel like right about now the Hydras have not accomplished too much, so that drop is not going to get too much down. Yeah, committing onto the Ovaleth makes a lot of sense. Hydras will instead try to run around, force more stims. Unfortunately, Shamans exist, so the Shamans are going to sort of short-circuit any damage that the stims would have done. Ski backed already on the way. We got some Iziricors here as well. AOT playing the one base style for now. I think it obviously it gives you a good tech timing, but you have no comparable worker production and military production together. Well, catching a Hydra is pretty bad news here for the understrength Zerg army. I think AOT's approach to this so far has not been very sound. I feel like Hydrith is very middle of the road versus Bio, whereas like Pool obviously can't get it done in a straight up fight, but you can support a defense and you can get more infrastructure and so on and so forth. Whereas obviously Shroud gives you actual combat power. Some Bactals and Hydras and Iziricors are being made back at home, but Shamans are pretty adept at dealing with the Bactal part, and there are still some Hurricans with that army. I mean, I guess like that he's slowing the reinforcements down, which is actually pretty smart. I dig AOT's general game plan here, but he is going to lose some of these units on the way back. Not quite diving onto the right targets there. If he had kept that army at the size that it has, suddenly I believe a lot more in his chances to really heavily slow this down. Here comes some Cyprians. Remember that Iziricor is very low, so only one Cyprian will be going down in the process. And no longer can one Hydra really do much. Maybe he can turn it into a Bactal and waddle it towards some place of threatening stature. But still just defending on the one base and slowly escalating the worker count here. Doglived's taking a step ahead, and of course the money favoring him to take an expansion, or the, I guess it was more so the tempo, the map control. All right, the Iziricors are not near the front line here, so AOT is not really punishing the Bactals pushing forward, so, or the Mavericks pushing forward, so the Bactals will be easily sniped. You got more reinforcements not getting active. A little bit sloppy here, but AOT might still be able to pull off a hold. He's got Iziricors hatching soon. He just needs to focus down the Huracan. It's doing so much damage to him by virtue of reducing the just reducing the ability of the Huracans to step, or the Hydras to step forward. Now I think he's just narrowly not got enough. If any of the other stuff had been true, well, 7 Hydras are going to hatch. This might allow him to turn the table, but he is going to concede the game. They weren't hatching at the same time. And as a result of all of that, yeah, you have to call it balls and strikes here. Doglived has taken a series point in pretty blazingly fast time. A lot of it off of the back of just fairly sound fundamentals and some mistakes from AOT. Now, I know he doesn't feel super spectacular about playing Zerg against Terran, but I do believe there is play in the matchup. Really, the only question is, where is that play going to be found by someone of AOT's style? I liked some of the moves he was doing. I started to believe in the vision when he was slowing the army down in the middle of the map and massing up Bactals, but his base unit positioning off of the rallies or whatever meant that his Iziricors weren't at the ramp and his reinforcement Hydras were not there fast enough, even though he's only defending his natural, or his main ramp into his natural. So unfortunate that his drop didn't do much, but now we're going to get into our map 3. This could be our final map of the series. Let's see what happens on Battle Spectre. Doglived is our Fern Green Terran in the top left, and Battle Spectre, a map where you are always cross-spawn, means that AOT will be in here in the bottom right, the green Zerg, and he will be Droll Scouting again, so a non-trivial portion of his economy sacrificed. One thing that I've definitely learned is, if you just go back and look, I was recently doing a data entry for weekend wages onto Liquipedia, so the first 8 installments of that tournament have been added. And one of the things I was thinking about is it's always like there's different races in the distribution of the top 8 or top 4 or top, whatever it is, right? Like the last 4 players are usually like, it's all just a little bit different. And so it's always interesting when you get like a result like what seems to be taking shape here, where the lower seed Terran player ends up outperforming the higher seed Zerg player. And, it's one of those situations where you wonder to yourself, okay, well, what does that mean exactly? Where are we going? Is that a sign that Terran is too strong? I suppose we'll find out together. But all I'm going to say is the weekend wage results don't always tell me that Terran is in fact too strong. AOT going to be adding a second Larvosk, looking like he wants to do that before any tech node. It's a little bit risky to do versus the double stockade. Oh, and for posterity's sake, I believe that there was a decent game in the first round of Game 3 here, so this is technically a replay. But I don't have any strong details about, like, oh, what happened in this match. Sometimes, you know, if there's like a replay, I'll keep it in the VOD or whatever and say, like, yeah, this is what was happening there, and I'll reference that so everybody knows what I'm talking about, but I don't really know what happened. Apparently there were some more drops from AOT. Big surprise, right? He's done that both games. So we can expect them this time around as well. But, you know, the double Larvosk is an interesting choice. The Droleth, I don't know if it spotted the Mavericks leaving the building, right? I think it probably did. He probably is aware. So what is he going to make with it? If it's a Hydroten, which it is, it's actually a Shambler. Hilarious. The 1 in 256 chance to name your Droleth Shambler, and then that's the one that he picks for his structure. I feel like if that's happening this frequently, there must be like 1,000 Zerg Shamblers. There must be so many Shamblers. But we don't have any static defense. We have an Ovoleth here. The Mavericks are moving across the map. And the Hydroth takes a long time to activate. So we are going to need to see a Rillarokor-based defense with a Circuit somewhere. Oh my god, AOT is playing so greedy. Has he really not noticed that there were Mavericks? Did his Droleth not spot it? Because now he's just going to get attacked. And what are you going to do? Load up your Ovoleth with Droleth and then combat drop them onto the Mavs? This series is pretty much over, guys. AOT did not take a calculated risk, or I guess he did. It's just that, you know, that's what happens sometimes. Quick combat drop. No, it's not to be. He's got more where that came from. GG. At least he has the manner to say GG and good luck and all of that. Not that I'm saying if he didn't, I wouldn't understand. He's been massively unlucky to have that happen to him. Very unfortunate for the man, but that is a wrap. Doglived moving on. And that means that depending on who wins versus either Newt or Cannoli in our final quarterfinal, which we'll take a look at tomorrow, that does mean that Doglived will either be playing TVT or a third straight ZVZ or TVZ to get into the finals, the qualification, which is going to be really funny because then Doglived will 1000% drop out, give up his spot, and play Ascozy in the next Tribunal. All right, guys. GG's. We'll be back tomorrow for more Cosmonarchy. Thanks for joining me on what might have been the fastest best of 5 I've casted. See you next time.